Welcome everyone to Wendy Makes Art. It is time for Friday Night Dinos. I hope that you are having a great Friday night and you're ready to draw some dinosaurs. So with that, let's get started. I think we'll start out and just say hi to everybody. I know I may have some viewers here in the chat room already. So let's say hi to everyone. Are you ready to draw dinos? There's a little icon in here. Oh, it's searching for it. I am not really. All right, David, hi. All right. Glad you are here. Welcome everybody who's watching. Okay, so we'll start out with the t-shirt for tonight. Just so you know, it is cold. We have snow at our house, first of all. I left the blinds open, but it's getting dark and you can't really see. I do have these adorable little dinosaurs right now are running from disaster. So I think I'll have to come over here and show it to the camera. And I'm probably still not showing it to the camera. Getting some light on it. There you go. Poor dinosaurs. Asteroid flying. Okay, with that, here, I'll turn this a little bit. This is what we're going to draw tonight. Over here, I've got, right over there, can never do this right, I have the image. You can download that at FridayNightDinos.com and try it out yourself. You can watch tonight or you just draw along, either one, it doesn't matter. This was painted in gouache, so start thinking about what you want me to paint this in and what you're going to work on as far as drawing and painting. All right, blank canvas, 8 by 10. My setup is very close to what you have. He's a little different in his view, but I got it as close as I could match it to the photo that you're working on. So you'll notice some subtle differences from the photo. Don't panic, it's just that my setup is just a little bit different. Welcome, I see a bunch of people are here. Thanks for watching tonight. We're drawing dinosaurs. It's going to be a good time. And with that, I'm going to get started. How's everybody's week been? It's nice to have Friday arrive and the weekend. We did get snow in New Mexico today and rain in town. Mid Lebowski, hey. Is that like a singing potato? Does that mean am I singing dinosaur or a singing potato? I don't know. All right, I'm going to first try to measure this out so that I can fit it all. When I do this, I have a tendency to make things too big, so I'm afraid I'm going to make that telephone massive. Annie C49, hey, great to see you. So glad you're here tonight. Did you hear we had snow in New Mexico? Crazy. We had Mike called me today and said, you better get home. There's like 6 inches. It was closer to probably 3, but the roads were getting really icy on the highway and it was all slush on the way up to the house. So I was very glad to get home. I know that I want this to probably end right around there and here. And then I want to kind of find a midpoint. So I'm looking at my image. I know that in here, I need an angle for that telephone. I'm going to look and use my pencil and then just point it down on the surface and try to draw that angle so that I have a midpoint and a reference for that telephone. I'll go ahead and gauge some sizes with big circles. So right now, this may not be accurate, but I'm trying to get a feel for how big things should be for when I draw it. So here's his nose. I'm not putting dark marks down yet because I'm gonna have to erase a lot and it's gonna be a mess. And now we'll come down and see how big this telephone gets. If his head is in there, and below his head is the other telephone receiver, how far down from the bottom of the phone is it, and where in space from the end of his little nose up here, way up here, his little nose, if I come straight down, what part of the wheel does that hit? The wheel should have a little section over here. So I was already drawing it way off from where it should be, which helps you start looking at lining things up and figuring out where they are. Just take your hand and take a look at what you're drawing and start to position it against things to see where they fall. I can already tell by doing that, my angle here was wrong. It needs to come down more like this. And I'm trying to gauge where that little wheel is in relationship to all of that. So still moving things around, still looking at the angles of things from the telephone, sizing it. How far above his head does that come up? This comes around in a circle here. There's more circle than what I originally thought. It goes around. So we'll start to draw a little darker now as I feel a little more comfortable with where everything is. And this will give me a gauge for where things should land. That if I have a line that's the top of his head, right? Where does that line, where does the back of his head meet this right here? What does that angle look like? And how far down is his neck? If I measure the height of the top of this and the height of his head, I need to make sure that I size him right. His little wiggly, wrinkly neck is right there. And draw his little wrinkles in. This is going to be the back of his jaw. Comes in here, has a little swoop and comes up, and then it peaks up and comes out. Now, I want to make sure that this comes out far enough, and I'm looking at where his head is, where the little triangle shape, there's a little triangle shape that is right in here, where the top of his eye is when it, this line and this, there's another little jagged point. And I still feel like his nose isn't quite long enough. It just needs to be a little longer. And then I really start to try to fill it in. Where is everything sitting in here? Now I'm looking at these angles and what is where. There's a gap down here and the bottom mouth comes out and you see this jaw right here. And then that meets up underneath that little section. Just trying to fit it all in. The back of the telephone then comes down this way. And I'm really trying to line it up between his teeth. How far does his jaw go down? Here. And I probably put this too far out originally. So I'm going to erase the end of this using my little, I found a refill for my Mono Zero and just erase that. And then I'm going to come in here and work on the back of this neck. And I'm really trying to figure out, is his head thick enough, big enough? how does this look as I draw it? Part of my telephone is going to be off the bottom of this. What we're going to have to decide is, do I erase this line and bring the whole image down? And that's why I like to draw on a larger piece of paper. I do this all the time where I'll sit it on the illustration will be on a surface. I may want to adjust it a little bit. I don't want to have to erase the whole thing. Shrinking it is one thing. I would also have the option to change this to a 9x12 if I wanted. If I wanted to get more of this in here and not crop anything, I can change it to 9x12 because my sheet is so big. So think about that when you draw on paper. You can put it on a larger block or paper or sheet. Draw an 8x10, really look at where your space is. You don't have to start and reinvent the whole wheel. You can remove lines, readjust where you want to crop it, and even change sizes. So you can go up to 9x12. I see somebody else popped in. Welcome. Hi. Welcome to Friday Night Dinos. I hope you enjoy watching tonight. You can download the image at FridayNightDinos.com if you would like to draw along, but you can just enjoy watching. We'll paint in this first hour, and then from 7 to 8, we'll paint it or color it, depending on what you guys want me to do with it. I'm looking at the head height and trying to determine from here. There's the neck. So just a shape right now. And looking to see where from here, if I were to draw a straight line through, how much of that little red phone holder is there? Where does his little dinosaur finger hit? And now I've got the circle. So I want to make sure that this is big enough. Where is, if I hold my pencil up to where the edge of this circle is in this line, we got to make sure that it's big enough on all accounts. So his little arm comes in here, curves up, and he's got these little tiny dinosaur arms. So cute, just so cute. And this phone, I'm looking at this circle and making sure that I bring it out far enough. Since it's at an angle, it's more of an oval than a round, perfect circle. It's going to be a little wider than higher. Not much. It's not distorted terribly, but there is some distortion there. And same with this circle, the bottom of that circle is below the halfway point because of that distortion. Not quite in the middle. And then the indented area where you listen on the phone or speak is off a little bit as well. These are not exactly centered to each other. This looks a little wonky. It should come up a bit more. So I'm going to just erase a little bit of this to clean up some of my circles. And then coming back here, really making sure that these lines work. And looking at his neck underneath. About the halfway point, he has two fantastic wrinkles. And then a little more in here. Right here, if I come up, he's got this ledge, and there's an oval in this part. And then this oval right above the denty where his jaw is where his eye is going to be. And those seem to be shaped pretty well right now. Now this looks wonky right now, but remember we're going to see part of the side. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that and wrap it around so that you can see it and it won't look so wonky while you're viewing. It's thick, and we can see some of that 3D dimension from the side. So there's that line, and then we're going to draw this line. And I'm really looking at where this cord is sitting, how it wraps around behind this piece, and it helps me gauge if this was wide enough. It wasn't, so I came over a little bit. Hey, Humming Wolf! Oh, I'm so glad you're here tonight. I'm so glad I can see your message tonight. I know the last time you were on here, I wasn't able to see it. Here's his little eyeball. I'm really comparing where everything is in space and looking at shapes. So if I look at the corner of this and the telephone, what's the little shape I see there? And I want you to really look at the spaces in between. Don't worry as much where, if I'm looking at this and I see the curve, I know that it's the base where the telephone sits, but I'm just looking for how that line curves. Where does it sit when I'm looking at it this way? Where does this sit compared to his jaw? And where does the top of this come out? How far out does it sit? And then what does that curve look like? Feel free to use your eraser. Don't feel bad about it. Use your eraser if you draw a line. I just drew that line too far originally, so I had to clean it up. So I just went in and erased it. I am going to go in here now. This is where this came down. And I really want to get a feel for where this telephone begins. If I look at this and I take my pencil and go straight down from his jaw, I know that the edge of this circle is over in here somewhere. And there's this great little shape that goes on that comes down to it, the top, and across. And then it's going to come down around. This too, we're dealing with another big circle. And I've got to pay attention to where the bottom of this phone is. Do a straight line across this way. If I do a straight line across, where does the bottom of this circle hit? So I'm really trying to divide this space and look at where everything is. This comes up higher than I thought. I'm going to try to get a gauge of where this is going to go. I can erase this if it's completely wrong. This will help me measure it all out. There's a little sticker that goes in here, which is fun to draw because it has all these fun colors in it. And if I want to try to get the angle, remember, take your pencil and look at it. Put the pencil line at that angle. Now bring it down to your sheet and draw your angle the same way. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing, so it'll get a little wonky. See, somebody else jumped on. Welcome. So glad you're here tonight. I'm going to come out. Now, there's a blue section. There's a little blue section in here, and there's a wheel. And what I need to do is place where this wheel is. I know it's to the right of this. And where the edge of it is compared to the blue cord that's coming down right here. And where does the wheel meet up with this circle? So I'm coming around here. And now I'm going to make a circle and meet those parts. So this piece is so many circles. It is circles on circles on circles. Very few triangles. Lots of circles. But it shows you that you can take something complicated and really break it down in shapes. This wheel then is a puzzle piece that helps me figure out where this puzzle piece hits. There is a side that angles down. Again, I'm going to look at that angle, come in here, and draw where that goes. There's another piece that goes in here above it. And I'm adjusting a little bit because it just didn't look quite right. So I was doing a little adjusting there. Bring a bigger eraser in. This guy is going to come down and around and over. I can tell right now I drew this. There's some wonky things that aren't quite working. I don't know if I'm moving and it's coming out a little differently or what, but this wasn't quite right here. So we're just going to erase this. I think I may have moved. When you're working with a live setup or something from life, just keep that in mind. As you move, your perspective is going to move. Objects. So if you really want to try to stay in one place and look at it, because as soon as you move and everything else starts to move with it, it becomes wonky. I'm going to come down here and around and really trying to figure out where this guy is again in space. His eyes are going to sit in here and here. This tells me this guy is way off. It's a little weird how I put it. I will be moving the top and bottom of this because I like this little character. I may have to move this to 9 by 12. Hard to tell. I'm trying to gauge the curves because the sticker sits in this box. So where is this box in space? If I were to make the sticker box and the edges, how does that sit? That helps me put things in context and size them right. So going back to really basic shapes so that I can size it all correctly. Still working on my sizing here. I know his eye is going to fit right in here. I'll have an inside with his roly little eyeball. I love this toy. It's so bright and colorful. If you're looking for fun things to draw, take a trip to your local thrift store. Garage sale season is going to be here soon. Or just grab anything in your house that looks like it would be fun to draw. It's all going to help you get better. You can draw bowls, you can draw silverware. I think round things like cups are the hardest things to draw. I don't know why, but they're hard. His little face is going to be down below. So I want to get an idea of how thick I should make that. It curves back here. It's going to have another layer here. It's going to come up. And I'm really looking for where this all sits because, again, we've got another wheel. This wheel isn't looking quite right. I think it needs to be shorter, squatter, a little thinner maybe, like that. And just like that, I changed to wheel. This outside wheel will come out. there will not be that much room between these two wheels. And there's going to be a circle, and it's pretty thick. So if I rough in a circle here, and I can get pretty wild and crazy with that circle. It's not, I mean, my drawing is messy. Coming down here, that also helps me take a look. Did I draw this the right thickness? I think it might need a little thicker in here. This may have needed more over like that. And then clean it up a little bit while you try to figure out where everything goes. We're going to paint over this. That really helps clean up lines. So if we use something like gouache, hint, hint, I like painting in gouache. I should get a wonky emote as well as a bonkers one. I say bonkers a lot. Have I said bonkers yet tonight? Bonkers is my favorite word. I'll just throw that one out willy-nilly. It's bonkers! So bonkers. You can apply bonkers to any situation. They're bonkers. He's bonkers. Gotta love bonkers. And now, what's happening up here? I've got a little more foam that I need to show. It's not quite right yet. It's a little more on this edge that comes around. A little more in here. It's like he's a race car driver. Probably one of my messiest drawings to date. It's a messy drawing. And then on here, I need to know where this sits. So I'm going to come in here, draw his mouth, look for that little curve that I completely drew wrong earlier. I did move something, I can tell. I must have moved me. I'll just say I moved me. Where now do these split for the color bars? Clean up a little bit for lines. When you need to clean up, just grab your eraser, start erasing, clean up your lines. Probably a shaky eraser cam going on right now. Pick another pencil if you just got your pencil down to nubbins, which I just did. I have to show you guys this. Okay. Somebody on here knows what this is, maybe. Check that out! It's a vacuum! Is that not the best? So awesome. Right? So awesome! Okay, coming back up here. What I'm trying to do is figure out where these pieces, the color breaks go. Here's his other eye. Draw that in. Try to get my angles in so that you can see that. I just ignored the whole eyeball. Way to go, Wendy, right? Big old dark area in there. He's got the cutest little smile. He is the sweetest little telephone. And look at that with his little pink tongue. That'll be super fun. Super fun. And then I'm going to come out here and look at where this red wheel, where do we see it? Where does it sit? So there's our red wheel. These circles in here, I'm trying to gauge where they are in space. There's one here, and then one beside it. Right now we're just worrying about how many we're getting on here and somewhat if they're sizing right. Don't worry about the whole thing. They're like little crescent moons where they sit in each circle. We're just trying to gauge where these circles are. Right here, I'm lining up this and this and drawing a circle. I'm trying to keep them somewhat similar in size. This has a color block that ends here. There's one in the middle, and there's one down here. And that's not quite the right line. So I'll fix that, come in here, and try to draw these. David, are you drawing tonight? Humming Wolf, are you drawing tonight? I think both of you have told me that you're working on your drawing. David, thank you for sharing your work. You did great. That was exciting to see. It takes a lot of practice to just draw. And there. Gives us a starting point for where these are. It may not be quite right, but they'll work themselves out. Now I'm looking inside each circle, and they're like a little crescent moon, and I want to indicate where the crescent moon is, how that circle breaks up. Well, because there'll be a little piece of color inside each one of them. And that helps us give the illusion of it being 3D. Oh, good. I'm glad you're concentrating on the dinosaur. I'm sorry, I kind of just skipped him over, didn't I? I drew part of him and then abandoned him. We'll go back. I got distracted with the telephone knowing that I draw it just way too big, which I did. I drew it too big. We'll play with this a little bit, and I can see where if I come down an inch, I'm still losing this. I might have to switch this to 9x12. That's fine. We'll just erase all the lines and then I'll crop it how I'd like to crop it. Total benefit of working on a larger piece of paper than what you need. Because if I had started with an 8x10, I would have been stuck. I just would have been stuck. And then this has a little Fisher-Price logo in here with 4 little divots and not much room on the sides. And I'm just cleaning up a little bit with eraser, and I'm going to jump back over to the dinosaur, and we'll get working on him. I've talked about this a little bit before, but I look at the shapes in between shapes and really where things sit. So I know his foot is going to come out here about the midpoint from this wheel. And I know that the shape in between his legs, his little arm's going to come back. So this comes down, and his belly's going to come in here. And there's a little fabulous little section of orange in his belly, and there's a triangle of green for the leg that's behind. It's a little darker back there, So I want to make sure I have that triangle right in there. And his knee is going to be, for his other leg, is in here. So I could draw a long oval to indicate where that leg is going to sit. I can draw a little bit of a triangle or an idea where this is in here and how his back is sitting. Because I want to see from his head, how far down is the top of that bump on his back. From the top of his shoulder, as it comes up here, and there's a green section, and the little back of his little neck, meeting up to that hump on his back. And because I don't know what size this is going to be, I'll go ahead and erase out these lines. So even though I started with an 8x10, once I exceeded that size, I'm just going to erase it. And then I have clear inserts from framing. They're like a light plastic, and I'll sit those over. In fact, let me grab one and show you what that looks like. I only have an 8x12 up here right now. I probably have in my drawers a 9x12 or an 8x10. But this gives you an idea. These are the inserts when you get an inexpensive frame. You'll have it has a plastic on each side to protect the plexiglass for when you're framing. And I just leave that on there, but I'll often use a frame and not need to put something in it if it's oil or a panel or something along that line. So I use these as templates, and I'll work on a bigger sheet and I'll just draw a square. I'm going to exceed this. If I crop this, I could do an 8x10 and just crop it so you see the bottom of this. I really got to look and say, what's most important? Is that important to the story? Can I crop it down? And I can use this and see it because it's clear. So keep these guys, these inserts, these little plexi things. They make great templates for you to size artwork if you're going to crop it after the fact. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to grab another pencil, and I'm working on this dinosaur. And like I said, I'm really looking at the shapes in between everything. Where does his toenail sit in relationship to that back wheel? And I just got up, I came back, I can tell I'm sitting a little bit differently. So don't torture yourself. You'll be able to get a feel for what's right, what's bizarre, what's not right. You'll start seeing that. Don't beat up on yourself. I broke that pencil. Just go with it and make it work. But pay attention to these in-between shapes, all your negative shapes. I'm going to come in here. His leg goes down. This would be the bottom. Here's an oval to show where that lands in there. And again, if you want an angle, really try to match your angles up with your pencil. If I look at this back leg, I'm looking to say, where does his back foot up here hit in comparison to this front leg? Where do these little toes fit? Can I block it in just as a quick block in? How far down is this toe? Is this shape in here right? Is it close? Is his foot too big? I have drawn this guy's feet so many times, and so many times I have given him insane, giganta paws. So weird. I don't know why I do it. So it's something I know I do. I just pay attention and watch and try not to do that. His tail, or the back of this leg, this gets high again right in here. Mine was a little too low. I just drew a line above it, erase a little bit. And his tail's gonna come out from there. Happy little tail. And I don't have to worry about the whole thing because my art's not gonna be that big. So I'll go quite a ways with it, but I know it's gonna get cropped off, whatever I end up doing. Giving myself an indication of where the green is or his highlighted colors to help me gauge where things are. I'm really looking to see if I'm close on where these shapes are sitting on the dinosaur. Where on his neck, how high on his neck is that green area gonna come down? And where do the wrinkles? He's got these fantastic big old neck wrinkles right in here. Really comparing where everything sits. Wait, I'm just breaking pencils right and left. I'll come in here and clean these wheels up a little bit. This one's a little crazy. Let me look at it on screen. I'm used to drawing straight on. This is difficult when I'm at an angle. I may have things wonky just because it's wonky. It sounded ridiculous. Now I want to fill in some parts. I'm looking for where this circle is on this one. How far above his head? There's a little part down here. Where does that sit? How far in is this inner circle? It looks like it's about halfway, but it gets closer on top, comes down, and then there's a slight edge over here. I don't have to indicate it on all sides, but I want to give myself an idea so when we start to paint the shadows and the darker areas, I know where that is. This is where his little hand is behind there. And I want to make sure that this is nice and clean in here where his teeth and mouth are going to go. I didn't draw the teeth yet. I'm just going to give an indication of where they are. Draw them in here. And in here. I made sure to leave myself enough room in this little block. This corner of his mouth is a little messy, so I'm going to clean it up just a bit with the eraser. As I was feeling my way around to figure out where everything's set and the sizes, I made a mess. And I know I'm going to want a bright, clean, pink jaw. So I wanted to clean that up a little bit with the eraser. Draw a little more of this denty area in here. He's got a nice brow bone, and he's got the cutest little nostril right here. So the funnest part is once you've started to build this and you've created your template, you have your shapes in the right place and it's looking good, you can start to fill in all the little details and add more line work and drawing in detail to give you an idea of where those are. Now, if I'm out plein air painting, I do not have the luxury of time. In fact, often I'll block things with paint. I'll cover the whole thing and then I'll wipe out light so that I can get a feel for the shapes and work quickly. There is no time to do details. You work large to small. When you're drawing something like this, it's along that same line, we're making shapes and large shapes and how they compare to each other. And then we're going to start to work on the little details after we make sure that it's all sized right. So our biggest concern is, does it look right? Is it sized right compared to each other? I know this wheel is still wonky to me when I look at it. I'm gonna work on it a little bit. When I look here, I'm going, okay, this angle isn't quite right here. I got to look at where this sits, clean it up a little bit. I have so much lead on this from drawing that it's not an easy cleanup job. I doubt my string will end up, well, it may end up in the bottom of this. So I'm just going to indicate where the string is sitting. Where does it come out from under here? And what's that shape? What's the negative shape right there? There's that negative shape right there. And there's our little string. Just gives us something on the bottom. These small erasers are a lot of fun and really helpful with small areas. I left quite a bit of a mess in his eyeballs. So I can come in here and clean this up around the eye. Right back here behind that shadow of the eye. I can clean that up. This one I want to clean down here and around his eyeball. I don't want to confuse myself too much. I'm going to go around his nose. The top of his nose will be very light. And if it helps you to darken in where some of the black is, go ahead and do it. If it makes it easier for you to see the inside of this eye, if I colored the whole thing in, it might even make it easier for you when you're drawing to then erase out the little dimple where the white light is on here, where the moon is, and you can erase those right out. Am I dropped?
The stream is dead.
Can you guys see me? David, are you still there? It says my stream's still going. Yep, oh good, okay, I'm glad. I just got word that I may have disappeared from... Oh, hey Carolyn! Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, my husband came up and said it may have dropped, but he's multitasking while working in his shop. All right, Humming Wolf. Thank you. Sometimes I'll forget and I'm just sitting here just rattling on. Hear myself talk. All right, I was cleaning up these little divots in here and the edges. His little teeth. It's got a little tongue back in here. We'll paint that out. I want to make sure that this is right and give myself a better idea of the wrinkles in his little dino neck. Come down and around. And then you can clean it up. You can continue to draw. You can clean it up if you want. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. Check your eraser cam. Because my drawing is very messy. It looks great on camera, but up close, it's a mess. Hot mess. I'm connecting, I'm paying attention to where this line comes up so that it makes sense in the space. Same with this one. Where does this come down? How close to the wheel does that one go? Clean up these circles on the telephone. And I could even indicate where, a little bit of an idea of where this edge is in here. Where the divot, the dent is. There's a shadow that it's just one value, little tiny value darker. You could watch the Magic Mini Eraser for hours. That's funny. It is very cool. It's like a tiny little pencil lead that, if you can see that at all. And it helps you get in those little nooks and crannies, like right in here where I filled those colors in. Try to clean my shapes up a little bit on my half moons that are a mess. I drew that line to show you the angle of his head. We'll get rid of that. I can come in here and clean up some of my scribbles on the inside of his body. And in case you all didn't see this, I'll confess, this came from Humming Wolf, okay? Check this out. Carolyn, you may love this. Get that over there. Doesn't like the big chunks. It's an eraser, or a vacuum. It's a little mini vacuum. And then you turn it on and off. Is that not the most adorable, cute thing ever? Mini vacuum. I just so love it. I love it so much. Back to my eraser, cleaning these eyeballs. Around some of the dark spots in here. And then I'll erase out a couple of the marks. Right in here. Sometimes I get a little wild and crazy and I click too much out and then it's wobbly. So like a pencil, a clicky pencil, you just hold the bottom down and then you push it this way and you can shove it back in the hole. Yes, Humming Wolf, I love that thing. It is the best because you don't brush all your stuff onto the floor. You just take your little vacuum and scoop it all up. It's the coolest thing, and it's not too loud. I don't know how loud it sounds for all of you, but I think it's the coolest thing. It was an awesome gift. Okay. So I've got a much cleaner circle over here. And it looks pretty good. It's not perfect. But we're not drawing the Mona Lisa here. We're drawing dinosaurs. Oh my God. David's so funny. My pencil sharpener, if you haven't heard it yet, my pencil sharpener across the room, all the way across the room, sounds like a dinosaur. That makes me just want to go. I think I might have to just demo that here real quick. Oh, look, I completely skipped his feet. You got to love that. He's got these weird, goofy, little, I don't know, funky feet that aren't shaped well at all because I just abandoned it, I guess. I think I got distracted. So I'm going to tighten that up a little bit before we get to painting. I do have to run over though and sharpen a pencil in the dinosaur pencil sharpener because it is hysterical. It does sound like a dinosaur from across the room. Who knew? And I never even connected that. I think that was you, David, who connected that even the pencil sharpener sounded like a dinosaur. So funny. The back of his leg and a little bit of cleanup. And then I'm going to come in here and work on this foot. Give him black toenails. I'm just drawing them in with the pencil. I'll paint right over that. So I don't know why I feel compelled to draw them in. It just makes me feel good. I'd be like, ooh, I feel so accomplished if I draw his toenails. The whole side of his foot is shadowed up the side of his leg. We have a little more detail now, though, that makes sense where that is. And under his tail, this is a great orange color underneath here. I just want to clean this up a little bit, and then we'll add paint. We'll turn our vacuum on again. So cool. Are we ready to paint? Let me go sharpen a pencil. Where's my these are my favorites. When they get down to little nubbins like this. Love this. Okay, listen everybody. See? It's like, sounds like a dinosaur. Not that I know what a dinosaur sounds like, but I pretend like I know. Hilarious. Okay. Cleaning his head up. He has a few bumpies, like little bumpities on his head. So right in here, there's a bumpity and then a little bumpity. That's a technical dinosaur term, all of you. So you know, bumpity is, yeah, the auto mod censored the comments and then I went and permitted it. I don't know what is up with that. I thought your comment was just adorable. And completely true. The mod, it's a robot. Okay. Clean up, clean up. What do we want to paint with tonight? Let me pull some options out and you all can give me your thoughts. We did colored pencils the other day, so I don't want colored pencils as an option. In fact, this one I did as a quick sketch once with just the student 12 colored pencils, threw some color down really quick. I was doing a practice run to see how well they worked. There were student grade crazy art pencils, I believe. And this paper is a printmaking paper, so it's a soft paper, which is why the colors aren't real bright. So I've got that. Let's see. We have watercolors. Oh, we've got the inexpensive Prang watercolors, and this time I did not pre-soak them in my water jar. These are good professional grade watercolors. We have, let's see. Oh, I have not cracked open the Sharpie markers that we found while cleaning out my daughter's room. My daughter is been out of the house for years and years, and finally my husband took it upon himself to clean out the room that she hadn't cleaned out. What else? I've got gouache. I don't know where my hand set of gouache is. I must have taken them somewhere and stashed them because I don't see them in here. They're usually right in here. Let's see what I don't think I have anything in this. No, I don't. But I could paint with an unusual set of gouache that I have. Anyone? Something you want to see? Watercolor, Sharpie markers, gouache. I feel like I'm asking Bueller. Bueller? We have painted with this one. We have not tried this set of gouaches, which might be a lot of fun. I can bring them up here and we'll squirt them out into my palette tray and work with them. That would be really cool. Is auto mod still gouache? Yeah, I think the gouache, I'm with you, David. I think the gouache might be really fun. And since I drew this so heavy, it might be a good one for us to paint with because it's opaque. This set is neat. This is a Hawaiian set, and it is a color set. They did a series of these for all the seasons. I don't know why I picked this season, but I felt like I just had to have it. This one is fall? I think it's fall. Let's see what it says on the side. It doesn't even say on here, but I'm pretty sure it's the fall set, thus the fall leaves. It has a gold wash in it, which is beautiful. So it's got no blue. No blue? I don't think there's any. Oh, there is. There is. It's going to be an unusual blue. It's more like it's indigo. So we have indigo, a bright yellow, and we're just going to see what it does and make it work. These will be fun. This is going to be a fun set to paint with. I love a butcher tray for my gouache wet paints. So those of you who like to paint with gouache, if you don't have one of these, they're super fun to squirt your paint in, and then you can just leave it and work with it. So this is what I'm going to use today for the paint. Let's look this over here, and I think I may, let me see if I can get this fairly comparable so you can see some of my color mixing, or maybe I'll do it like this. I think it might be nice for you to see a little bit of what goes on in the palette without a second camera. I've got to set I have a new rig above me, and I've got to set that all up. So we'll try this so you can see. I'll try to keep them in this section. I'll just know that got to about here and out, right about the paper size. And that way you can see what's going on. I'm going to start with just laying out the primaries. We could try just painting with the primaries. And now I'm sitting here going, I need a white. I need a white. And I don't know if I have a white up here. So this one is gardenia yellow. They're unusual colors. They're not something that you would get in a primary mixing set. We'll see what we get with this. So, safflower red. Ooh, nice. Kind of a cad red medium. This one is our indigo. It's the only blue in this set. There are a lot of greens in this set. Just one blue. And I've got to check the drawer behind me to see if I have white gouache upstairs. Otherwise, I'm going to have to run downstairs and check the other studio. or see if my husband's around and can get him to go get it. I have a silver here, and I don't think I have a white. And we definitely need a white. I will be right back with a whitewash. That was an adventure. Let me tell you. So my other studio has become my messy studio. And I moved some things on the table, and this gigantic dinosaur-sized spider just jumped out. I have time to kill him or chase him down or relocate him. But that was a nerve-wracking adventure. Yowzers. Okay. Woo! I do not do well with spiders, gang. They make me a little like, oh. All right. Let's just grab, what do we got here? Not a lot for gouache brushes right here in front of me. We'll just use what we've got. So let's see how red this looks. And if I need to add any yellow, I'm going to spread it out with some water. Water it down a little bit. I just kind of want to see what color it is. I'm going to add it in here as a base and a starting point. Wet gouache right out of the tube. Oh man, I love gouache. I love taking a small kit with me where it's dried in pans and painting with that on the go. But if you have time to sit down and pour gouache out in studio and get to enjoy it as wet paint, there is nothing like it. It is so nice. Get to hear me geek out on white gouache. I have no idea what my husband's doing in the garage, but he must have an air compressor or something on, and I can feel the floor vibrating. He's got some kind of project going on down there. I'm gonna take this yellow, and I want to see how yellow it is. It is very opaque. It's the best way to put it. I'm going to take a little bit of the red and that yellow and just lay a base of color in here on the side of this. I will add more red, but I wanted to see what I had first. This. I also have a highlight in here. I'm going to wipe a little bit out. It will probably cast a little bit blue once I bring this up to speed. And now I'm going to add this red on top of the orange. Around where that highlight is. And put some of this color back here on this as well, on this wheel. My colors will not match perfectly because we're working with a limited color, special color set. So just kind of keep that in mind as you watch me paint. And I'm adding more yellow to this red. I want to yellow it up. I don't know if you can see exactly how orangish yellow I'm getting this red on the side. And then I'm thinning it down almost to it's not a tea consistency. It has more pigment than that when you're talking about consistency of paint in the watercolor. But it's not quite creamy either. And then I'm going to come around here and start to color the phone. We can adjust these and put a base color in now and then adjust it with more layers that will go bluer, darker, lighter in value. Add shadows. Luckily, you can see my pencil marks. I've thinned the gouache out enough that it's transparent and you can see the pencil marks underneath. And that gives us a nice base layer of color and helps us block these color shapes in. And I'm going to come in here in his little mouth and lay in where the telephone is behind his face. So you can see that. Coming around, blocking in shapes. Thin enough that I can see my pencil lines so that we can build some layers on top and we know where everything is. I'm going to leave a little bit of white showing in the middle of this phone on the bottom. There is a metal nut, a little screw in there. So we're going to leave some of the white. And around where the blue on the back of that is. And that gives us a good foundation for that. While I'm messing around with this yellow and orange, I'm going to go ahead and give him that color that's reflected underneath his belly. He's got an orange belly. There's a little bit of it that you can see in his wrinkles on his chest under here, a little bit underneath his neck. Some of it may be from the phone reflection, but not all of it. And then we're going to add some underneath his tail, which you may not be able to see back there. I'm going to thin this out and lift a little bit of it. It's a little too red. So we'll just pull some color out with water. Hi, Leva P. It's nice to see you. It's 1-800-DINO. I think he's calling for takeout. There's a joke in there somewhere. What kind of takeout does the T-Rex order? And I think it took him forever to dial the phone. That would be the worst. Little dinosaur with those little hands. Rotary dial phone. Talk about old school. Leaving a little bit of that color change where it should change on these. This is a nice transparent red. I can still see my lines, which is super nice. We're painting in gouache tonight, if you're just jumping on. I know, his poor little small arms, man. I was looking at something the other day and I thought, they are so bird-like. The dinosaurs, those T-Rexes, those arms were becoming completely useless. While I'm in here with the red, I might as well add a little bit in that part of the telephone. Let's take a look at this blue. Not bad. We'll be able to make, so if I wet this and contaminate my white completely, because that's going to happen. You know it's coming. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take some of that white and contaminate it. It's not quite the right color, but it's pretty close. And I'm wondering if I add a tiny touch of that yellow, that mix. Now I contaminated my yellow. Not quite right, but pretty close. And not as bright as the color on the stickers and the base of this guy, but I think it'll work. I'm thinning it out, laying it on here. Just filling in these shapes. Just like we did with the drawing, I started drawing big shapes, and now I'm filling in big shapes. I'll lighten this up a little bit for this section on the phone. I'm just using the brush that was sitting here. It's an inexpensive brush. They work really well with gouache. I'm not going back down to the other studio to get more brushes because there's a spider down there and I'm scared. I know he's on the table. Makes me really nervous just thinking about it. Let's see what kind of greens we can get. I'm gonna make a little section down here and pull first a little bit of blue over here. Then I'm gonna clean my brush so I don't get any more contaminants in my yellow. Contaminate it with red. Oh, that is nice. Oh, it's not even showing up. Let's see if it'll show up when I put him on the dinosaur. Ooh, it's so exciting. Pretty nice. This is great for your skills to color mix. Start with 3 primaries, and you will get different colors depending on what 3 primaries you're using. But if you want to get good at color mixing, break it down to 3 primaries, and you will learn so much. Get a little more yellow. I don't want to contaminate my whole pile of blue. So come in here and get some more of that fantastic green. And go into some of these darker areas. We can build some in-betweens. Like I have light and I have dark now. But as we develop this, we can start to add values in between. So don't panic yet about the darks and the lights. We're just trying to build some color into here. I'm going to clean my brush, get more yellow, make a lighter green. And I've got a whole variation of greens and turquoises now on my palette, which is nice. I even like I laid this down and some of the yellow is peeking in. Can let it move around like watercolor and mix different ways. Let it be a little unpredictable. A little more color. I want that back a little darker. Come down here. There's a nice dark green here. And then the back of his leg. Bob Ross would say, happy little dinosaur. It's a happy little dinosaur. When I was growing up, my dad would say all the time, he's like, Bob Ross is on. You should be like Bob Ross. Now I'm doing my own little version. Dinosaurs. Super fun. This is super fun. Painting it with gouache is the funnest thing. I like that it's so forgiving. I can add white on top. It acts like watercolor, but it has that opacity. That's so nice. Coming in here with yellow for his belly. And of course, I got my gouache yellow pile completely contaminated and dirty. But we'll just use it up. I'll try to keep it somewhat clean. I still like it mixing with these other colors. It makes me really happy. Just makes them more vibrant and fun and feels a little looser. Give him yellow in his top of his eye. This in his tail in the back. We got to think about what we're going to do with this background. Go West couldn't make it tonight, but she usually wants to and suggests some great creative ideas. She's very good on the instigating creativity side. I've got to make sure that this back leg is darker. I'm going to add some red to my green to dull it down, knock it down to almost a shadow color. Back behind. A little bit on the top here. Between the toes. I want it to look like it belongs there. I'm going to clean this brush and get a little bit of white and a tiny touch of red. I want that pink that sits in between his, right here on his jaw. And then darken the inside of his mouth. This is where my palette starts to get messy. It's a nice deep shadow in here. On the inside of his mouth. And even on the back of that turning point. Now we get to see what we can create with these colors that are close to some of the colors that we have on here. So I'm going to try to see what kind of a purple I can get. Not quite right. Try to knock it down with a little bit of white. That helps. Put that in there on the phone. And right next to that. And then we're going to knock it down more and take it a little pinker for the next color down. So I need a little more of the red and a little more of the white to knock it down close to the next color. We will not get these exact colors because I'm working with an unusual triad. And the next one is even pinker. This will be my hardest color to match. It's just not going to match. So we'll do the best we can. Bring that in there. And then put that there. Now for orange. Mostly yellow. And we could even start and do the yellow section right here. This is our yellow section. And for the orange, we just want to add a little bit of that red, not much. Let's see how much. It's pretty good. From there, we have that limey dinosaur green right in here, which is nice because you carry some of the color from this guy over to the other side. And then we get a little greener. And I had left some nice puddles over here, so I don't have to stretch real far to get the colors I need. And then if I add a little bit of turquoise, I can add that inside here. And a little more yet for this one. I'm going to jump back down to pink, and it's a peachy pink. So I'm going to get white, a little bit of red, but it falls peachy for his tongue on the phone. So I mixed yellow in with it, and we're going to paint peachy pink on his tongue right there. Let's look at some of the shadows. I missed a line in drawing over here. I wouldn't have to come in and draw this, but I'll just add this. There's a shadow right there. And I might clean this up a little bit. Right in here. I'm gonna clean that just a little. I can try to clean up. Oh, let's do this yellow too. Let's do the base yellow of the finger turny thingy. It's a technical term, finger turny thingy. I need a drink. The finger turny thingy is going to be a creamy yellow. So what? And it's not a perfect yellow. It has a little bit of orange in it. So I'm going to get yellow. Not quite enough there. There's not quite enough pigment. But if I hold this up and I look at my phone, it'll give me a good idea of what I need to add. I needed a little more pigment. And that pretty much matches. Now we'll go in here and paint this part of the rotary dial versus the finger pointy thingy. I'm just doing the big shape first before we deal with these crescent moons. Meaning 3D element in the rotary dial pointer thingy. You like finger pointer thingy better? I know, that's so fun, right? Words I always forget. Measuring tape. I forget that word all the time. I call it the stretchy roller. There's another one too. Let me think. Oh, the little mini cabbages. What are they? The Brussels sprouts. I forget that one too. I call them mini cabbages. Sometimes I panic and get worried that I'll forget those two particular words. And then I just figure I'm a little bit weird and it's just a thing. And to let it go. We'll add finger pointy thingies to my collection of weird words I can't seem to remember. Now, if I blur my eyes, there's a bit of a shadow to that color. I'm going to exaggerate it. It's a little more red-orange in this color than there is, so that we can see the difference. In the little crescent moon shapes. That's the 3D part of the dial. I should bring some of that onto the side as well to help you translate it. And use that to darken up that one section as well. Which still is not quite right. Better. We'll get a little bit of the red. Loosen it up. It's already drying. New Mexico is so dry. And that's after we had a day of snow. Crazy, crazy amount of snow. So bizarre. What color is, let's use this red and just add a little bit of color for the string. We'll mess with this later as well. I'm just adding it on here so that it has a base color. Don't forget about it. Get some blue. I can get some yellow. And paint his finger. I'm going to get a little more yellow. Oh, a little more yet. Not quite enough yet. There we go. Get the bottom side of this arm and his elbow. A little more on the top too. A little bit on his knees and his feet. And I'm not worried about being too detailed. I'm just throwing blobs of color in here. Word finding gets worse when you get older. Holy cow. It's the weirdest thing to just forget a word. And then you evolve into describing it, which is just results in calamity. Now the white. Really need a small flat is what I need. I do not have one here. Let's see how this works. I'll loosen up some white, get it nice and opaque to help brighten up and clean some of these areas that are covered with graphite. they'll still need, there's blues, there's grays, there's different colors in these whites and shadows, but I thought I'd clean a little bit of it up first with some white because it is such a mess. Right in here where I kept redrawing that curvy line. Total disaster. And in here. And this will help show us where everything is. All right, we're gonna go back to this little small and mighty brush. Now, where I've contaminated this white on the palette, you can see me mixing right here. It's made a nice lavender purple, but not quite right. I'm gonna pick up some color over in here. And then I'm gonna neutralize it with a little bit of yellow to make it gray. Now I can bring that pinker, bluer, or more on the green side, depending on what I mix into that. So it's gray, but you can lean it towards cooler, warmer, etc. by mixing different amounts of red, blue, and yellow in it. Like there, now it's got more red in it. Let's pull some blue into it. Now it's more of a blue-gray. So it gives you an idea of what you can do with the whites to gray them out. I'm going to lay this in here. It comes all the way down to the side to right there. You can't show light without having dark. I know that there is a shiny streak right there on the corner of him. My brain knows that this guy is white. But the only way that I can show white is by making the colors beside it darker. So if you're looking at something and you're going, that's not right, it's got to be darker. Just remember, you can't go there if you don't add darkness. I'm mixing all these different colors to try to get a neutral gray. Back in here, still kind of blue. And let's see, I'm trying to make a darker gray than what I had on here, just to give you that example of what I'm talking about. I could exaggerate it with this. Yeah, the bright colors work really nice with this. And you see, a little darker and a little more on the yellow for the back of this, the shadow on the eyeball. It's a little too green. It's not quite right. So I'm going to go back in, bring some red into it, into that neutral. Come back onto there. Bring that down here, around that eyeball. That one has a shadow too. It's a shadow that goes around here. And that little shiny part can't be shiny if everything else isn't dark enough. This is going to need to be dark down here to make that shiny, and it's going to be darker than this section above here. So this side right here, I have to have a distinction between these in order to see the shine and the white. Your brain knows this little guy is white, but you have to get the darks in. Now it gets even darker still towards the phone where the shadow's dropping in. Come in here, and it's picking up a little bit of the red. Reflected color. Boy, that's a whopper to get into too, reflected color. And on the turquoise side down below, it too will pick up some of that red. It's going to be a different color than the section above it. And I want to smooth that out a little bit. And we're doing all of this to give you that depth, that illusion of depth. I'm going to come back in here. Yeah, a little more on the blue side. These neutrals. Pick some of this green up to neutralize it too. Does take it a little on the green side. I don't like that. I'm going to build some of these shadows in here, and then we can lighten them with white if they get too dark. There's a shadow. Nice shadow back here on the side of the phone. Little divot in there. End of his mouth under here. Edge of his eye. Then I want to thin this out down here. I want this front part darker. I don't want it too dark. I'm going to come into this curve, come around his mouth. We haven't painted black yet, so hang in there with that. This set does not have black either. We're going to mix with the blue and the red and see what we get. Little shadow under his cute nose. Edges of his eyes. Playing with these lights and darks. And then really seeing what is lighter, what is darker. That's my brightest. It's a nice bright around his eyeball. My brush is a little bit too big, but I'm going with it. Right in there. There is some color in this. I have to make sure that this top part is lighter than the front. There's a fine line between which is bright. Which one is the brightest? Funny enough, I still have pencil shavings in here I'm messing with. And there's an edge of this that comes around too. I'll come in here and indicate that. It's a bright light line right here, comes down around. And I'm really looking for where my brightest spots are. Where are my brightest highlights? In here. It's a little lighter in here. Look for the light and then start going darker. His little nose has a dot of white on it, just a dot right in there. But I've got to darken up behind everything else. And then I've got to darken up in here, this area. Because this little edge looks very bright, so I've got to make this more of like a purpley neutral. So come in here, leave that one really bright, right up in here. And then the button on top has a tiny touch of pink in it, just a little bit. I don't know if it's illusion because of the red Fisher-Price tag. Could be. A little bit of that. And get my bright white, smooth it out. Give this a clean edge up here, clean edge up here. Comes this down here. Really bright spot right there. Change that right in there. And let's get some bright blue. Gouache, if it's a water-based design gouache, now this is not as dark in front of me as it is on screen. It does look a lot darker on screen. More blue than white. I'll knock some of it back a bit, but just so you know, it's not quite right on screen. I've been trying to play with the saturation on the video screen and just have not gotten it right yet. Now I'm looking for a very small brush. We're going to make a little bit of a black color. I'm going to start with the blue and add red in here. The yellow will neutralize it a little bit. That gives us a good starting point. I think it would be nice to see his little smile in here. This is a floppy brush. Oh man, this thing is floppy. I think I'm better off with the other one. Doesn't have as good of a point, but it's a firmer synthetic. Clean that up a little bit. Yeah, that was floppy. I mixed the red, the blue, and a little bit of the yellow to try to make a black out of the primaries. In case what you were wondering what I was doing on the palette. around here, right around there. But I thought I had everything ready tonight. And I left the whitewash downstairs. I didn't bring my favorite brushes up. There's a spider having a good old time downstairs in the studio. He was gigantic. He was so big. And I'm adding some darks in here. I'm going to bring some whites in. Brighten this up a little more. Let's make him a little more fun. He's so cute. He's so cute, right? I'm going to blend this right in here. It's dark right here as it comes up. And then this guy over here. Give that nice little corner edge. And there's a light bright over here as this comes down too. Which is really nice. I see right in over here. There's also brightness in here. Beside the shadow. Where it lightens up a bit. So weird. It's getting better. Adding a little more light in some of these. Right in there. Start working on this phone a little bit. Moving left. Not bad. And we probably should put something under this. A shadow. Start with a shadow. It's a neutral shadow color. Way down that car. So I mixed up a neutrally purpley color. Put a nice dark color in here underneath that. Right under the edge. Over to there. It's a nice dark shadow underneath this wheel. So from here back. And a little under here. And then water it down a bit. There's another shadow this direction. And a softer shadow here. Now I could indicate some kind of a floor color or just something back there. So I have a mess behind where this wheel was. And this would clean it up a little bit. Clean some of my mess up. Let's give a creamy kind of neutral color in here, which I think will be nice. It's your paintings. If you feel like you want to change something, change it up. I'm not going to make myself crazy painting the wood green underneath this guy. Just not going to do it. I like to mix and change these colors up. So this is creamier back here. There's more color in it as I come forward. Mix that in. Whoop! Oh my goodness gracious. I just painted my whole shirt. My dinosaur shirt is covered in paint now. Luckily, it's gouache and it comes right out. Hopefully. Ooh, it's pretty pink. But it mixes in nice. So I have a puddle up in the corner and I just keep adding color and white and changing it up. Dip some white over here. I'll go back into it. Add that on the field of color. Around this wheel over here. Oh, and it's 8 o'clock. We're pretty close. Could use some more details. It's, let me move this up so you can kind of see what I've been up to. That'll give you an idea of what I've been up to. I've been trying to get this background resolved, cleaning up some of my pencil lines. And from here, it's all details. It's just refining, going in, making it the way I want to finish it off, and then signing it. So I hope that you guys, did you have a good time? David, how was your drawing? Color a little around his feet. Give you guys a chance to check in. I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend. Next week on Friday Night Dinos, let me show you what we're going to paint next week. Let me get them. It's one of my favorites. Yes, there are favorites. Next week, we're going to paint this guy. It's hide and seek. I think it's funny. I use this. I got the Jurassic Park box at the thrift store, and then I put the dinos in it. I think it's hilarious. So Carolyn, thank you. Thanks for watching. Brittany, thanks for watching. David, Annie, Humming Wolf, thank you so much, everybody. I hope that you all have a restful, joyful weekend. Tuesday night will be Art Tip Tools Tuesday, where I go over favorite supplies. And then next Friday will be another Friday Night Dino. So have an awesome, awesome weekend. Annie C, thank you. Oh wait, we've got to do one dino before we leave. We'll do one roar. Gonna do our roar before we head out of here, and we'll see if I can hit the button. Woohoo! Thanks everybody. Happy weekend.